Elias sat alone in the dim room, the sound of rain tapping softly against the window panes. The scent of old leather and the faint trace of incense hung in the air. Before him lay a worn journal, its pages filled with years of musings and confessions, some too dark to voice aloud. Candles flickered uncertainly on the table, casting long shadows that danced on the walls, shadows that seemed to stretch like specters reaching for the light that had begun to wane in Elias's soul. There was an unsettling stillness within him, a void that whispered wickedly whenever the world went quiet. It was a familiar sensation, an uneasy reflection of choices made when courage faltered and fear masqueraded as security. The ache of decisions left unchallenged by the courage of his convictions. In the absence of noise, Elias felt the edges of himself blur, his essence intermingling with the unnerving pull of something foreign yet intimate. A demon's tale was not one of horned beasts, but of subtle invasions. It began when thresholds were crossed in quiet desperation and silent consent. He felt a chill, a cold breath where warmth should have been. The demons were not in the shadows, they were within, born of his own hesitations, of abandoning his true path for the lure of certainty offered by others. It was the age-old dance between soul and fear. As the rain pitter-pattered into a somber rhythm, Elias remembered the moment he allowed another to claim dominion over his spirit. In that quiet acquiescence, in letting others dictate his path, he unknowingly issued an invitation to darkness. It was an unwritten contract, an energetic bargain, binding his vitality, his very being, to a force that fed on his inability to say no. The demon was hunger given form, yearning for sustenance through Elias's surrender to others' dreams, others' expectations. It fed not on chaos, but on the orderly dismantling of his autonomy, as if each reluctant agreement was a feast, each overlooked boundary a banquet. Yet even as the demon feasted, there was something it drew strength towards, Elias's very own creator. It was a dreadful harmony, a symphony of self-betrayal where the devil's tune played on, enticing Elias further from himself, further from grace. There were moments when clarity cut through the fog. In those fragile insights, Elias could see the cost. The torment within was not birthed from demonic desire alone, but from the parts of himself lost to the masquerade of following paths not his own. He realized then that the true cruelty of the demon lay in its cunning. It turned Elias's desire for love, for acceptance, into strings that bound him tighter to its game. It made a mockery of his creator, rendering the light within as naught but a flickering candle, diminished. But as surely as the demon fed on surrender, there lay within the seeds of redemption, a chance to reclaim the legacy of his own choosing. It required the courage to see the illusion, to peel back the facade and lay claim to the vessel that was his birthright. One rain-drenched evening, Elias found his resolve. He took the book from the table, and in its pages, he began to inscribe not the regrets of the past, but declarations for the future. With deliberate strokes, he wrote his own destiny, knowing each word reclaimed a fragment of his soul. A battle waged within him, the conflict between acquiescence and defiance. But with each line, his heart grew lighter, his spirit more buoyant, as he wove courage into every syllable penned. In the end, it was not an exorcism, but an act of reclamation. Elias understood what he needed to do. To break the binding, to rid himself of the demon's hold, he had to face the quiet comfort of previously avoided truths, to boldly assert the rights to his own existence. This was his signature in ink and faith, marking the end of a haunting collaboration that marred his lineage with shadows. And as he wrote, the room around him shifted subtly. The shadows receded, replaced by the steadfast light of self-awareness, of accountability. It was not the purity of Christ that Elias summoned, but the honesty and grace within his grasp all along, the strength to face the reflection in the candle flame and embrace it wholly. Elias's journey was not just a rebuke of darkness, but a celebration of rediscovered light. In reclaiming autonomy, he declared to the world and to himself that the vessel belongs to he who nourishes it with intent, with love, with authenticity. This was the spell that bound him to no one but himself. When he set the pen down, ease clung to the air, much like the rain still clinging to the earth outside. The storm within had quieted, not vanished but tempered, transformed by intention. It wasn't resolution found in evicting demons, but in embracing the eternal light that abides even the darkest curses with a quiet, unwavering flame. The room, once haunted by unclaimed shadows, now harbored a burgeoning dawn in quiet celebration of a spirit's awakening.